Hello, everyone. I am here with Candice, who is a clear coder, and we're going to chat about her experience in the clear code today. Candice is a business architect living in Dublin, Ireland. She moved to Ireland from California 2 years ago. She's also a Pilates instructor training. She's training to become a Pilates
Training to be, yes.
I love that. That's awesome. She loves to cook, explore new foods, and has been traveling quite a bit since moving to Europe. So welcome, Candice. That's exciting.
Thanks, Jill.
Yeah. So I always like to ask when we start to talk about the clear code, before we talk about your acne journey, how did you find me? Do you remember like what you were Googling, what you were looking for?
I'm 99% sure it was TikTok, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was TikTok, which I don't even go on TikTok as much anymore because it's too damn addicting. But I think I found you on TikTok, and I had experience with like reaching out for other things for help with things, and it was successful. So it was like, why have I never done anything specifically for my acne,
And tell us a little bit about your acne journey until you found me. What things had you tried? When did you first start breaking out? How old were you? Do you remember?
Well, I was put on birth control when I was like 12 or 13. I didn't have acne, but I was having hormonal issues. And of course, they didn't tell me I could do this naturally. So I had perfectly clear skin through high school. Mm-hmm. If I got one pimple, I was like freaking out about it. And then I got off the pill when I started to feel weird after being on it for 5 years. And I had horrible acne come in. And that was like 19, 20 years old. And so I actually did heal it with food at the time. I mean, on my own, and it was challenging. It was clear, but like I would still get some breakouts here and there, but it was, some periods were like really clear and then some weren't, and you just didn't know why. Like now I kind of have an understanding more of why. So, but then when I moved to Ireland, I went through all this stress and I had insomnia, I wasn't sleeping, all these things. And so like, I don't know, I got into my 30s and my hormones shifted and I just started getting hormonal acne, and I was like, what the heck? I know all the things you're supposed to eat. And, I've been researching acne for 10 years. Like, why is this happening? So that's when I was just like, okay, I've been to naturopaths. I've been a nutritionist. Like, why don't I talk to someone who specifically, knows about acne?
Yeah, from a food perspective, right?
Yeah.
How had your experiences in the past with naturopaths, et cetera, been? Were they helpful? Did you learn specific things, but you feel like you didn't get the whole picture?
I learned specific things, but it was like around my hormones and whatever other things, sleep and stuff like that. But it wasn't, I feel like all the naturopaths that personally I went to, they didn't experience acne themselves. So they kind of didn't understand when I was just like, I'm afraid to eat that, or I'm afraid to take this vitamin, or, because I'm afraid of breaking out because I have experience with it. So that was kind of challenging. And then obviously dermatologists, like they just throw you pills or creams. And I actually did do tretinoin after my skin was pretty clearish. And I was like, oh, I just have a couple pimples, so let me just do tretinoin. But it was really harsh on my skin. And like I said, the hormonal acne will come through tretinoin. Like, I don't know if people realize that, because I see a lot of people talking about like, oh, tretinoin helping my hormonal acne. I'm like, it may help you get less hormonal acne, but mine was still coming in. Like, they just look different on the tretinoin, but they will come through,
So I tried tretinoin, Retin-A, different gel, Retin-A micro, and they would always give me that initial purge for about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. I'd freak out every time. I think I tried it 5 times, literally. And then I would be clear for like 6 to 12 months, which was
exactly.
And you think you find the thing and you're like, I did it. But then it starts to creep back. And so what was the thing that you feel like, so you came into the clear code, and I remember things very clearly when you came in. And I remember we had chatted, I was giggling about it as I was thinking about this, because I remember you said, this is the last thing I'm going to do that's OTT for my skin. And I giggled. I didn't know what OTT meant. And you were like, oh, it's over the top. And I laughed because I remember, especially before I went to heal my acne naturally, I was like, what else could I possibly do? Like,
you're right.
Crazy. And so what about what you had seen in the clear code and or what you had seen about I shared made you feel comfortable or confident that this could actually work, given all the stuff on the internet that's like grapefruit juice cleanse, don't use moisturizer, use moisturizer 5 times a day? I
think for me, I had an inkling that I would actually know a lot of the information in there. I would have been familiar with it, but there would be like a couple, like at least one thing I didn't know. And then also out of like if I know 100 things, like you're going to narrow it down to like the 15 that are actually important. And that's what I needed, because I was just like, and also like the consistency and having someone be there for you through it for me was helpful. And I remember I was like telling my husband about this, and I'm just like, I don't know, I have to do something like, and obviously like the before and after pictures and stuff like that. So I just, yeah, I kind of just went into it. I was like, okay, I'm going to trust this process and hope I don't actually know everything, and this person has been doing this for many years. I think that too, because I'm aware that acne is different for many people.
Yeah.
And so seeing how long you've been doing it for, I'm like, she's had to have seen every type of acne at this point. Like I did therapy for something else, and I just realized that I was a major perfectionist. And so I'm like, I think I need to offload some of this from myself, this responsibility. So it's like, almost paying a trainer, I'm like, I don't have the discipline. You go through a phase of life. I don't have the discipline to like make a training plan for myself. I'm committed to losing weight or whatever it is. I'm going to pay a trainer. In this case, I was like, I don't have the mental capacity to Google search anymore. Like I'm going to hand it off to this person, and I'm going to do what she tells me, even if I've tried this before, or you know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's just try everything that's recommended, or don't do certain things,
Yeah, I love that. I think I know a lot of us, especially because again, I cleared my acne over a decade ago now, right? So the internet was different. Like I went to the library, talk about that a lot. I went to the library to look at this stuff. Now you can Google and find 42 different options in 5 seconds. And so, but too, there's so much education. You can do so much research and learn so much about your own skin, but it does become the question of how do you pull it all together? Do you have the time, the energy? How do you pull it all together like correctly too? That can take like years if you try it on your own.
Yeah, 100%.
And you mentioned your husband. I always like to get kind of any feedback. How did he respond to any questions around this or what I do? I always like to ask about hubs because they definitely play a role in decision making for sure.
Yeah, he was supportive. I mean, I could be impulsive. So he's like, I need to make sure this is not one of Candice's impulsive decisions. And I'm like, I thought about it for a while. Like he of course like looked through everything that you had, and he's like, he was actually really impressed. Like he would mention it because, I didn't get clear in 6 weeks or whatever. I also changed what I was supposed to be doing. And so he was like, that's amazing that she's still staying with you. And like, it's actually Jill on the calls, it's not like, okay, I've talked to Jill, like she's the salesperson. The next thing I'm like with this admin that I've never talked to before, So yeah, he was really impressed with that. And I'm just like, hey, it worked. So
yeah. Okay. So on that note, you had tried so many different things. You felt like you knew so much. You had 100 different pieces of data. What do you feel like even the top 3 to 5 things that impacted your skin were the most? Like what were the 3 biggest, most impactful action steps that we took or things that you learned?
I would say for one, the T's, because I've always been told about my liver and testosterone and stuff like this, but never really given gentle ways of correcting that. So that was like, I was like, I love tea. This is amazing. How have I never heard of dandelion tea? And then blood sugar management. I looked at, like, I knew, like, it's like, some things, but you just don't know everything. I don't know. It's hard to explain. So I was like, oh, it's blood sugar. Like I knew that high carbs or like a lot of sugar would break me out. But then when you learn about blood sugar management, you're like, that's why they break you out. Like things like that. So I've actually found even since starting that blood sugar management has been like one of the top things for me, even more than, in the beginning, like I've been afraid of dairy for 10 years. Like I would eat it as like a treat. And now I eat Greek yogurt like every day and I don't have any issues. Because I'm not, it's like Greek yogurt with some berries and nuts is different than when you go out and have like 3 beers and a pizza and ice cream. And then you go, oh, it must be the dairy. You're like, no, it's actually like the huge blood sugar spike that you had.
Yes. And then like, especially with that again, I have done that for years. So there's when you do that though, it screws up your blood sugar a little bit. It spikes it a ton. So insulin is released. And then when you wake up in the morning, the only thing you want is glucose because you kind of crashed yourself so far down. So of course you're going to go get a donut and orange juice. Of course. It's the only thing that makes you feel better. And then you go like this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think with blood sugar management too, it's a lot of knowing the information, but then like how to implement it in your daily life in a way that you can sustain, that Candice actually enjoys living with.
Yes, because I had a lot of food fear. Like And that's kind of what I wanted to get out of this too. Like I was so eager to see the food plan. I'm just like, tell me what to eat. If I'm eating the right things, awesome. Cause I ate really healthy. Like everyone that knows me is like Candice and her foods, cause,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to have food fear my whole life. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that came out of it. And then tracking, I felt was because even though you think you're being consistent in your head, if like 7 days feels like a long time in your head, you're like, I've been doing this for a month. It's like, no, it's actually been 6.5 days. So tracking was really, really like insightful for me just to see how often I change things. And then you see the patterns because I kept saying, oh, it's not hormonal. It's because I was used to breaking out before my period.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting no acne before my period. But then when you start to look at it, it's like you're breaking out on your period though, or after your period. Like there is a period and it's repeating itself. It's just not where you thought it was in your cycle. So that was definitely helpful for me.
Yeah. I think that is it's such a human thing. I do it all the time with my own stuff, not acne anymore, but food, working out or whatever. Oh, when you start to track, you're like, oh my God. In my mind, I went to the gym 8 times this week, but I've gone once. Once. And you're like, oh my, we have a cognitive bias towards the things that we think about a lot, right? Like if I think about going to the gym a lot, in my mind, I'm like, well, I've gone a lot. I haven't.
That's true.
It's Monday, it's Thursday.
Exactly.
Right. So that's super common. And on that note, you might have just shared it. So in which case, if it's food fear, please let me know. But what has been the biggest mindset shift that you feel like you've made throughout the program, if any?
Food fear for sure, eating a lot more foods. And just honestly, I don't feel because I know more of like why I would break out, I don't feel that bad when I get a pimple. I'm just like, oh, it's fine. If it's like, oh, my period's coming, I get one pimple maybe, or like it clears up quickly. It's just knowing it. But before you're just like, why is this happening? What one pimple would trigger me because I just want to know why. Why? Because I've been eating healthy all week, or and everybody's eating whatever they want and they have perfect skin, or that's how you feel. So definitely learning the why makes a pimple not feel so, it's just like, oh, it's just skin, and you're going to get a pimple here and there because I'm acne prone, or that too is just accepting that I'm acne prone. And this is something that I manage, and other people have other things that they manage, whether it's their weight or other health related issues. So yeah.
I think too, if and when you get one, because I definitely maybe get like 1 or 2 breakouts maybe every year now at this point, right? Because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
I always know why. I'm like, oh, that's because like often, I think you probably heard me talk about this, my classic mistake. I'll be like, right before my period, I'll eat too much sugar and then I'll go get like threading done up here. Like, of course, I'm going to
right.
Yeah. Like, what am I doing? I have more oil at the pore. I'm doing some silly things with my blood sugar, and then I'm removing hair from the follicle. Like, it's like, of course, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And like, it just feels when you know why you're bringing it, you just have such a greater sense of control over the whole thing. Like, oh, okay, that's there because it'll be gone. I think too, when we have acne for a long time and we don't have the solution, you don't have something like your clear code clearly outlined, you see one and it becomes 20 in your mind, right? You're like, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. That's, I think, a big thing for a lot of clear coders is if and when someone gets like one breakout before their cycle, they're so used to it meaning 10. I have to remind everyone, like, actually, it's just one. It's going to be okay. I promise.
Exactly. I know I still have to remind myself because even before I was always like that. It was just like, and like my boyfriends or husband, they'd be like, it's literally like 2 pimples. I don't even see it. But I'm like, in my head, this could be the start of something very bad.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, now I'm just like, okay, now it's under control and you're doing more damage, if anything, stressing yourself out. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, it's just, but having the control definitely helps.
Yeah. And how do you feel on that note about your skin now? How is it looking? How is it feeling? How is it in your daily life feel?
Yeah. I mean, I just started my period, so I got one little one here, but they're clearing up really quickly. And yeah, my skin's doing great. I mean, I'm in shock, honestly. The crazy thing is all the things that I thought were breaking me out, it's like, it's all internal. I'm telling you. I mean, I clean my pillowcases, but if I read another thing about pillowcases, it's not the pillowcases, guys. Okay. I can sleep on any pillowcase. I can use the CeraVe. Remember, I was freaking out. I was convinced it was CeraVe because you read so many posts online and you're like, CeraVe causing cystic acne. Now I use CeraVe products every day. No problem at all. Makeup, no problem. Like like I said, I'm eating dairy. So yeah, it's great.
I
And it's
love
so much easier when you get ready in the morning because you're like, I can put some concealer on, your makeup goes on easier. You feel better about yourself. You're just like, okay, I can get out the door and get on with my life.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Time saver. We had a new client join yesterday and she said the thing she was most excited about was that she doesn't have to spend 2 hours putting on her makeup every morning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so long. That's such a long time to like,
Yeah.
it's such a big part of your day. It's hours.
So much. And then it looks like crap still, like at least
Yep.
on me. It's just like,
Yep.
you just want to get home and wash it all off like as soon as you can.
Oh, and
But
then you're going to the beach or the pool or you're sweating. I, I hate foundation to this day. I don't wear it
yeah.
because I don't like it because of how it felt when I had acne.
Yeah.
So, final question for you, Candice. What would you say if you had to pick or define kind of the best thing that's come out of the clear code for you, or the biggest transformation, mindset shift, the top thing that's been the most amazing for you?
I mean, for sure, clear skin, but I would say food fear, like just eating based off of blood sugar management and less off of like, I mean, obviously I eat healthy foods, but that has been a huge thing for me is like getting rid of food fear.
So just eating
More foods, like, and not because I would still eat all the foods, like, but I would have it like on the weekends. It's like this, that, and now I'm like, I can actually incorporate some of these foods into my regular diet, and not feel guilty when I eat them. Like I bought these and they're in my house.
Yeah. What's
So
your favorite food that you've reincorporated with happiness and joy? I always like to ask what people's favorite little snacks are or treats.
I would say for sure yogurt. It sounds so lame, but like I was just missing yogurt. It's so good. It's high protein, and cheese, honestly, like, because I live in Ireland, we have amazing dairy, and like you'll see people, I'm like, everyone's eating dairy here and they don't have acne. So I have like cheese and stuff in the, organic cheese and things that I'll put a little bit, Parmesan on stuff. And it's like, it's just fine. It's not like a bad food. I don't have to go feeling guilty about what I ate for dinner.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And actually, this is my last question for real. If you had to tell yourself before you started the clear code or give advice to someone who's considering healing their acne naturally, kind of in your same place, what advice would you give them for natural acne healing in general or going through this process if you had any?
I would say for sure be patient and also like stick to your regimen and don't change it. Because I did that, remember? A bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's definitely room for, obviously consultation if you disagree with something, but you have to really stick to something and keep it simple. Like when I was seeing a naturopath at the same time because of gut issues and things like that, and they were intertwined, and like she wanted me to start on things, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going in for the long game on this. Before I'd be like, give it to me so I can be clear in a month, whatever it is. And now I'm like, I'm going to start one thing at a time. And it's just so much better that way. And then you realize half the things you probably didn't even need.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I would say most come to me using 10 topicals and supplements, and they need about 2 of those.
Yeah.
2. And so that's nice too, because then you get like, that is a financial commitment. 10 supplements and topicals every month. That ends up being tens of thousands of dollars over a 20-25 year period. And so I always like to kind of simplify down as much as possible. Because to your point, it's really just like 3 to 5 things per client are really like transformative, and everything else is foundational and fundamental. But then like 3 to 5 action steps are going to have the biggest impact for all of you. And they're different for every person. No client. Yeah. I've like, I probably have had clients that are very similar to one another, but I don't think I've really had any clients or thousands that are the exact same at all.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, well, thank you so much, Candice. This has been so lovely to chat with you about. And yes, I remember every parts of your journey very well. And it gets me so excited that we're here now and that
one thing I'll say, my husband was like I said, he knows how I am like, I'm very passionate about things. I can be kind of impulsive. I change things a lot. So he was like, oh, she has no idea what she's getting herself into. Because I was like, Jill's going to be so pissed. Like I changed my moisturizer or whatever. He's like, stop doing that.
Yeah, it is like a part of helping people with anything, right? Like, you have to let them explore things on their own, even if it's probably not going to get them the results that they're seeking.
Yeah.
And you do have to do it like with true freedom. So when I saw that you had changed a few things and I knew they probably weren't going to work, that's not really, you want to be like, don't do that. But
Yeah.
you know how this is going to go. But 90% of the time, like you have to go through the experience of that and see for yourself in a good way, because then you can kind of say, in some ways, it's even better for you. Because then when you come back to center or the things
you've like checked that question, you're like, okay, I answered that. I scratched that itch because, and then it's like, actually, let me just stick on, the plan. So I had to go through that journey.
Yeah, for sure. And you're not alone. I'd say maybe 3 to 4 out of 10 people do that. I'll tell them to do this and they'll do something a little different. And then it's a common thing. I do that with my own stuff, just different. Someone will plan for something, I'll be like, it'll be A, B, C, D, E. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do QXR.
Right.
I like her advice, but I'm going to do QXR. And they're like, okay. And then I do it.
You do you, girl.
Yeah. And then it doesn't quite work. But then, that's the benefit too of hiring someone to help you and to and also lifetime access too. Cause it's not like we had a time limit for our work. It's not like I was like 8 weeks and like, we're done. I don't know. It's like, we're doing this until your skin is clear. Like you sending me DMs about how amazing your skin is and pictures, like that's where we go. That's so as long as we get there, I don't care how long it takes or what it takes. As long as we get there for life, I'm good. Some clients, it happens in 8 to 10 weeks. Other clients, 6 months. I had another client who went really, really, really slowly. We did a chat about this and it took her a year.
Yeah.
She's like clear for life now after tremendously cystic acne for her for a decade. So it's like, if it takes you a slow year, I prefer that over 8 weeks to clear skin. And then in 2 months, it's completely broken out again. I don't want that. That's not like
exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Candice. This has been so great to chat with you. And I appreciate your time with me.
Of course. Thanks, Jill.